And without warning, we're back with another XRP update. Since today is the last day of July, I wanted to come and give you guys a little update before the month comes to an end. Since I couldn't give you guys an update last night, I wanted to sit here and give you guys a brief update on what's actually going on and my overall projections. I won't mention the news or anything else, this is just going to go over the price. I'm going to talk to you about what's actually going on right now and what I could anticipate as August approaches. But first of all, go ahead and hit the red subscribe button if you haven't already. However, if you look at the larger market, today was actually a pretty bad day for the cryptocurrency markets, and that is all bad for Bitcoin. As you can see, Bitcoin has essentially been stagnant and was actually retesting a very important support line. If you look at my H-bar update, which went live about 2 hours ago, I showed how we could drop below that range, which could lead to altcoins falling even further. Many things have transpired since then, but the most significant event was the monthly candle close today. Although it's still not horrible, we did close the monthly candle at about $115,000, but clearly many people wanted to see it rise past 120. It is what it is. Naturally, this week was extremely busy. Interest rates remained maintained throughout the FOMC meeting. Of course, it is another issue we must take into account, but in addition, CPI figures are a topic of much discussion over whether or not a rate cut is likely. There are a lot of discussions that will take place, and I continue to think that September will bring about the rate cut that will allow us to. As you are aware, the third quarter ended well, and the fourth quarter is about to begin. However, let's examine what's going on with XRP's pricing at the moment. As a result, if you look at the price, it's currently down around 4% in USD, and it's currently resting at $3, which has somewhat increased since then. However, if you look at the valuation of Bitcoin, which is $176 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume, which is roughly $6.77 billion, you can see that we are currently sitting at $3 and down about 1.7%. During the past few hours, specifically, we have witnessed significant liquidation proceeds, primarily because of what Bitcoin was able to. But first, as always, a brief disclaimer before we continue. Everything on this channel is financial advice. When investing in cryptocurrency, always do your own research and due diligence. Therefore, I would like you all to look at the dominance index. Naturally, the dominance index has been showing signs of strength since July 28th. Our trajectory has been upward. In contrast, Bitcoin has been exhibiting significant price volatility and weakness. As I mentioned earlier this week, we were expecting the market to exhibit some shakiness, and that is exactly what happened. But this is something you can see for yourself. Bitcoin fell below $115,000, and you can see where we ended up. Very soon, we were able to recover over the $115,000 after dropping to $114,200. In my opinion, this might have happened as a result of a shakeout, since there were clearly a lot of longs that were accumulating. Isn't that a component of the game? And for this reason, you should avoid using platforms that deal in leverage trading. Not only the platforms for leverage trading, but leverage trading in general, as your holdings might be completely destroyed during these periods. However, generally speaking, market volatility occurs on the day of the monthly candle close, and I'm not surprised at all that this happened. However, if you're looking at Bitcoin, it's interesting to see how quickly the price is rising back above this key range. Most importantly, it should start pushing up to the likes of 116,000, after which the key resistance of 117,000 would be retested. If it's unable to do that, I expect dominance to start pushing up even higher. Perhaps this week, it could start retesting up to 62.5%, which is something I obviously don't want to see, but that could happen, especially if Bitcoin is unable to hold around these levels. In the long run, Bitcoin has been on an upward trajectory, so even if it were to drop to a price of $112,000 or even $107,000, I think it would be perfectly acceptable for BTC. I thus want you all to have that in mind. And many people have already forgotten that July was generally a bullish month, but take a look for yourselves, guys. I want you to realize how crucial this $3 range was. I mentioned to you guys in my most recent report, which was 2 days ago, that if we were to fall below the 309-cent level, we could push down to the $3 region, which is precisely what happened. However, as you can see, we actually went wild down to $293, and look where we are at the now. I'm not kidding when I say that you can't make this up. It is a significant obstacle as well, but we were able to quickly rise back over the psychological level. But see how quickly things actually improved. You know, all the coins reacted because of Bitcoin, and XRP isn't an exception. After we dropped to $2.02, it quickly increased to $3. I apologize for the immediate 3% gain, but we are moving back above the $3 range, which is extremely intriguing, and XRP will undoubtedly respond. If you believe that the price of Bitcoin won't rise, I hope you all realize that everything is tied to Bitcoin. Since Bitcoin dominates the market, we pay close attention to it every day. However, it's rather intriguing that we've risen over these three ranges. However, we still need a little more confirmation from Bitcoin before we can say that we're out of the woods just yet. We'll talk more later tonight because those are some of the stages I just spoke with you all. I generally do these updates after midnight, so I'll bring you guys up to date. You know, a more thorough and detailed update, sort of reviewing the news and everything. If you haven't subscribed yet, tell me in the comments what you think. We'll see you later in CryptoZX. Peace out.